Hello, Ray Phoenix here. Welcome to Let's Play Jumping Flash 3 Robbit Mon Dieu Part 5. So now this time around we're going to a stadium level. I remember we went to a stadium once before in the original Jumping Flash. Only last time was a gladiator stadium. This time we're being in a movie again. Or I guess it's like a movie. I think there's a director's board there. Looks like we're going to fight in a baseball stadium this time around. Well, I actually made this like baseball. We actually had to play baseball against the evil Robbit. Looks like it's going to be a baseball game by the way he's positioned. It looks like we're going to be playing baseball, so they actually tried to do something more original with this game. They were going to be playing baseball against Evil Robbit, but as you could probably guess, considering the fact that this game likes to also be reminiscent of the original Jumping Flash, it's just going to make this a downright battle, the battle that we would expect to see in the original Jumping Flash. Yeah, this is pretty much just a rehash, like a rematch almost of that Evil Robbit we had to fight against in the original Jumping Flash. Well, here he is again in Jumping Flash 3. We fight again. This time he's actually a bit smarter. Yeah, it's actually more challenging this turn. He moves at the same speed as you. Can jump in the air. He can like lock onto you from the air. He could jump, and it's kind of hard to, dodge him when he moves at the exact same speed that you move at. See him walking backwards like that. He's jumping to me and locking onto me for jumping. He's going to jump. Right now, all I can really do is try to run backwards. And I said before, Robbit's not very fast. He's not very maneuverable. Robbit almost is like a tank a lot of the time. He's kind of slow, and he just fires out weaponry a lot of the time, just like a tank. I guess Robbit is kind of some sort of battle mech, battle tank a lot of ways. Some people wonder if Robbit's actually sentient or not, or maybe he's being controlled by something. Maybe there's like it says like a real living rabbit inside of him that's controlling him, or maybe some person, a controller somewhere is controlling him. No one really knows the truth, because they never really learned much about Robbit, about who he actually is, and what he actually is. I mean, people like to think he's sentient. People like to think he's his own sentient robot like Mega Man, which, yeah, I guess that would be fair. I mean, Robbit very well could have been a mascot for the original PlayStation. And I just realized, too, that Jumping Flash is also a series that's pretty much stuck on the PS1. I remember earlier I was talking about games series that have like 4 more games in the system they debuted on. But now imagine this, game series that are on only one system. Jumping Flash is a prime example of that. Because Jumping Flash had 4 games, technically had 4 games in total, and they're all on the PS1. It's a series that's completely stuck on the PS1. All Jumping Flash, all you can play on Jumping Flash is just only on the PS1. So there's that director guy again, or that filmmaker guy again, that's going to praise us for what we just did in this battle, probably. He thinks that we're, great action stars, because Robbit totally is an action hero star. He's the greatest robotic action star there is, and we're going to get another news thing is going to come. Well, it's not actually a news thing. It's actually like I guess, a cutscene, a point of plot. They were just too lazy to give the full animations for us. Instead, it gives us something that looks like it's in an old yellowed book. There's that guy we keep seeing for those challenges where he goes rambling on about useless crap or useless information, just talking about how he's butthurt that he lost. You see the evil Robbit or whatever Robbit is with has been defeated. Obviously very butthurt about what happened. And then some other weirdo just shows up, some weirdo that looks like one of the characters from Tiny Planets just shows up. He just tips his hat to him and he's like, oh yes, hello, I'm here. I'm going to give you some sort of deal or offer or promotion or something like that. Some sort of promotional offer maybe, or some promotional gig or offer or deal or something like that. Yes, we'll take it. We'll gladly take it or something like that. Or maybe it's some sort of deal to conspire against Robbit. I have no idea. And clearly none of this actually means anything, because since when did video games ever need stories anyways? This is game just trying to, justify itself for not having any story at all. They're just going on a bunch of Japanese text. I actually recognize Japanese text. I mean, I've seen Japanese text on so many things now. And when I see it written on something, it's actually a language I recognize. It's actually popular. It actually is, distinguishable from other Asian languages. Because of its uniqueness, because of the unique, I recognize some of those letters. I have no idea what they mean or how you say them, but I've seen them in other things before. Probably the other Jumping Flash games, because those games had Japanese text in them. Yeah, most of what I know about Japan I learned from playing Jumping Flash. And the rest of what I've learned about Japan I learned from playing Bust-A-Move 4, or Puzzle Bobble 4 is what it would be called in Japan. That game's very hardcore Japanese, and oh look, it's the Mighty Morphine Power Rangers again. They're just going on about how they couldn't defeat Megazord or something like that again, or was that other villain they have? Whatever, I forget, I haven't watched Power Rangers in years, I don't really remember much. They didn't get something, and oh look at that, that guy was trying to do something, and then he's twisted his back or something like that, or he's like, look, my back, or something like that. That's what people thought was going to happen to Han Solo in Star Wars Episode 7. He was going to end up getting killed off because his back couldn't hold him up, so he was like, my back. Now he looks more petrified, like he just looked at Medusa, minus the whole turning to stone part. And now they're going on about, oh look, these Power Rangers are so weak and feeble and fragile that they just get instantly defeated just by staring at Robbit for a few seconds. Just the sight of Robbit makes them go, and then they fall back, and this makes them be petrified. Or maybe it's like that thing from Harry Potter in the Chamber of Secrets, and people kept getting petrified in that movie. I remember that movie, and I read the book for it too. I remember when I was a kid, I liked Philosopher's Stone the most, but I'm starting to think Chamber of Secrets is my favorite one. Oddly enough, my mom doesn't like that one that much either. She just likes Philosopher's Stone and Prisoner of Azkaban the most. It's kind of interesting to see how different people think of things. Like, I really liked the Star Wars prequels when I was a kid growing up. I still kind of like those movies to this day. I was actually quite surprised when I found out that people actually don't like those movies. I mean, sure, I didn't really like Revenge of the Sith that much because I thought it was just some like psychological horror thriller thing set in space. It wasn't really so Star Warsy. But I liked the other prequels. I thought the other prequels are pretty decent movies overall. They actually are secretly genius if you overlook all the annoying stuff they do, the BS stuff that they do. I'll admit, they're not perfect movies, but they were still pretty decent. That's kind of what I think of this game too. This game is a pretty good game. A pretty decent game, but it's definitely not perfect. Jumping Flash 1 and 2 are a lot better. At least they didn't make this game a prequel to Jumping Flash, where they gave Robbit's backstory about how he was actually built and what kinds of stuff would happen. Hey, that actually is a pretty good idea for a video game. Just make a prequel of Jumping Flash. Yeah, Robbit was probably built by some scientist or some robotics professor engineer or something like that, and maybe Barrett Aloha had some sort of connection with it or had something to do with it, and Robbit had to fight against something or fight against Barrett Aloha. I don't know, there's so many things that could have happened if they made a Jumping Flash prequel. I mean, they did that with Mario. That's what Yoshi's Island was. It was pretty much a prequel to the Mario series, where apparently Yoshi had to defend baby Mario when he was a baby. And yet somehow they made Baby Mario a separate character in those Mario Kart games. I could theoretically play Mario Kart Wii on my Dolphin emulator. Probably could be played on a keyboard, considering the fact it could be played with a Wii Classic controller or a GameCube controller. Because so far the only Wii games I can play are the ones that don't require a lot of motion controls, because all I have is just a keyboard. I was able to play in 100% complete LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga, the Wii version, on the Dolphin emulator, only using my keyboard for that very reason. Simply because it's easy enough to play with a keyboard because of the lack of motion controls of the game. The games that require too many motion controls might not work as well, like Super Mario Galaxy or something like that. Because all I have to play the games with is a keyboard as of now. That's what I'm using to play this game with. I'm using this game to play a keyboard, and it's hard to aim. Get Robbit to aim with the keyboard. What makes matters worse for this game is that they removed the crosshair when under all the circumstances. Like normally in the first two games, the crosshair is always on the screen regardless of what's happening. But in this game, they only made it so the crosshair only shows up when you aim, and it's hard to aim when I'm playing this on a keyboard. I'm just using the RetroArch default controls for the Duck Station emulator and RetroArch. What sucks at RetroArch is that you can't really remap the keyboard controls or the controls for the keyboard in that game, in the emulator. What do you call it? It's not really an emulator, but you know what I mean. It's hard to, like, you can't make it like, oh, A key does this, S key does this. No, you actually have to have it like, it's like the keys are hard-coded, or the key commands and the key alignment's hard-coded. And all you can do is you just change which key does what, but you can only use those few certain keys. That's why a lot of PS1 games are unplayable with a keyboard in RetroArch, because it's not possible to get like all the buttons working, like especially your PS1 games that make full use of the R1, R2, L1, L2 buttons. That's why it's not possible to play the Twisted Metal games in RetroArch with a keyboard. The only way I could do that is if I take out my EPSXE emulator, which is quite inferior to any of the emulators in RetroArch. And again, some people say RetroArch is only really good for emulating stuff on non-Windows PCs, like maybe a Raspberry Pi, or a PSP, or a PS3, or an Xbox 360. I got RetroArch running on my PS3 once, but it was very disappointing. Can't even emulate PS1 games or N64 games. just plays like old NES, SNES, Genesis, Sega Master System, stuff like that. Stuff that any old computer can emulate, so it's not really that impressive then. That's not impressive by any stretch of the imagination. That's why I think the Raspberry Pi is a much better emulation machine than a PS3 will ever be. And eventually Raspberry Pis will be able to emulate way more than what PS3 is. I'm still waiting for that day. So she's pressing another one of those buttons, one of those weird ape escape-like buttons, and then it's like, you're stuck in place. I still don't know what the deal is with these Power Ranger things. Are they trying to collect something or gain something? Alright, now they're working with her now, so I don't know. Like I said, I have no idea what any of this stuff is or what's going on. I tried making up my own stories, but all of them just came to the downright conclusion of it's just Robbit doing chores in a time of peace. It's a whole video game about chores. Only chores in real life could be this fun. And oh look, we get another newspaper article. I wonder what it's going to be. Sometime news. I got something about the Power Rangers. Again, the Mighty Morphine Power Rangers. There's some ad for something of a Moo-Moo. There aren't really very many Moo-Moos in this game. We saw them a few times in the original Jumping Flash. We saw them a lot in Jumping Flash 2 because they're on Planet Little Moo. This time around, there actually aren't a lot of Moo-Moos in this game. I mean, nowhere near as much as there were in the first. I don't know, maybe Moo-Moos are exiled on Hanama, or maybe they're illegal on Hanama or something like that. Or maybe they all got chased off or something like that. Who knows? So now it looks like there's like an airport landing, like an airport runway or something like that, where he's going to be talking about a bunch of crap or a bunch of stuff. Just talking about stuff related to, I think this is like an airport. Looks like an airport in the Bahamas. Looks like the kind of airport the Beatles would have went to in 1965 at that airport. And yeah, I remember a lot of those Caribbean countries seem to have small airports like that with somewhat small runways, and we have to go and collect 3 of those weird KKK things with the multicolored hood things. So there's always a collectible card to get in this level as well too. I could show where that is, because there are collectible cards you can find throughout the game. They're usually found in those treasure chests, which could simply be opened by walking up to them and pressing the square button. It'll even prompt you to use the square button. See, look, press the square, and oh look, it looks like Captain Kabuki. Looks like we got ahead of Captain Kabuki as a trading card. That's probably one of the most valuable cards of the game, simply because it's Captain Kabuki, the main antagonist, or one of the main antagonists of Jumping Flash 2. A very, very pivotal part of Jumping Flash 2. So now we're just walking around the runway, as you can see here in traditional Jumping Flash fashion, where we just run and jump around, we jump on stuff, we go looking for stuff. Oh, we have to collect them, we have to pretty much kill them. This actually isn't too much different from what you did in the first 2 Jumping Flash games. You mostly had to collect stuff, only this time it's just simply search and destroy all 3 of them. So I take those things must be the bad guys in this game. Maybe the Power Rangers are like good guys trying to fight against them, but the Power Rangers are really the good guys, and why do they need Robbit's help so much? They must really suck at fighting supervillains if they need Robbit to do everything for them. I mean, Batman's a pretty accomplished superhero, and he never calls on for Robbit to come and do stuff whenever he needs to fight the Joker or something like that. I mean, a superhero isn't really that great. They have to constantly rely on other people to rescue them, if you know what I mean. That's not really that great of a hero then. They're always, reliant on other people or dependent on other people and things to rescue them. Or maybe Robbit's just that great of a hero that the whole galaxy fell into some sort of the whole galaxy went bad or something like that, or some villain took over the galaxy. They probably would call on Robbit to save the day or something like that. And she does sound like a really good story for a possible Jumping Flash sequel. It's probably never gonna get made. There's no Jumping Flash sequel ever realistically get made at this point, right? Well, apparently there's someone out there that's developing a Jumping Flash 4 actually, but it's just a concept thing to show to investors. It's not like a full-fledged game, it's just like a concept thing. Actually, it's actually recognized on YouTube as an actual video game, where you can go on YouTube Gaming and you can select which game it is or the game title on YouTube. It's funny they recognize that as a real game, and yet they don't recognize Otto's Magic Blocks as a real game. More than 2 years ago, I made a video about Otto's Magic Blocks. And it didn't recognize the game as, being an actual game. So instead, for some reason, it recognized it as being Pac-Man instead. That's why it comes up as, oh, this game is Pac-Man from 1980. No, it thought it was Magic Blocks in 2004 or sometime like that. I remember, that was one of the few videos I made in 2021. 2021 right now is a year that holds the record for having the least amount of videos made by me. I made way more videos in 2022 and 2023 than I did in 2021. I even beat 2017 at holding the record for having the least amount of videos I made per year. I only made 17 or so, or 18 videos, I think. I think it was 18 videos or so in 2017. And in 2021, I only had 10 videos. But now this year is going to make up for it, and I can assure you all that next year is going to have a lot of stuff too. Don't you have really big plans or types of videos I want to make on YouTube next year? I'm sure the Mighty Morphine Power Rangers here would agree with me on that. Ain't that right, Power Rangers? Looks like they're just talking about like going to fighting. Yeah, we didn't actually see them fight or do anything meaningful in this game. They're just there for the sake of being there. They're placeholders, essentially. They don't serve any real purpose. They're almost redundant. And look at that, we're getting another newspaper. I wonder what it's going to be this time. At least this is more meaningful than newspapers in real life. These days, those stuff about those KKK things and whatnot. This is Ray Phoenix signing out.